Hello, friends. How are you today? It's been a while since I've been online doing a live, and I am like super excited about being here with you today. A lot has gone on in my life since, well, it started right before Tony Robbins comeback challenge, and then my husband and I done UPW. Oh my gosh, what an extraordinary event. I couldn't believe it. There was like 23,000 people all on Zoom. Isn't that just extraordinarily crazy? Anyways, I'm just like, I kind of just needed to step back and soak in everything that I got and just realigning myself with what it is who I am at a core level and what I stand for in my life and for people around the world. Anyway, so today I wanted to come on and talk to you about Leo. Like, first off, like, do you ever? I mean, seriously, have you ever? And it might sound silly, but do you ever deal with or get rubbed wrong by the negative naysayers, the negative confrontational, annoying, literally just downright negative people? Let me know in the comments. I think I put the question there for you to answer that because we all have it. We all have people in our lives, exes, ex husbands, ex wives, or just ex boyfriends, ex girlfriends, those employees, or maybe you have some of those friends, you know, family, especially family. Like you get around some family that are just like constantly negative naysayers, right? Like they're just annoying with all their negative stuff, especially with everything that's been going on in the world. How about you? Like, when COVID was um when it first began, like I don't know about you, but for me at first I was like, oh my gosh, I was kind of like in shock. I was scared. I had fear, like, is this like going to just like spread unstoppably and everybody die? All kinds of crazy negative thoughts were going through my mind at the time. Okay, so before I get any further here, if you are just joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Susan Yaki. I am a transformation and mindset life coach, and mindset is my game. It's all about decluttering our lives, our businesses, so that we can create an extraordinary, and juicy, loving, happy life. So I'm all about empowering you and consciously creating a life that you love on your terms. And that's what I'm about. That's what I stand for. So I only stand for that because I come from a life of poverty, a life of childhood traumas. And my transformation happened over a decade ago. And when that, when my life transformed, like I knew in my heart that I needed to help other people see that life really is about anything is possible. You can have it all. You can have juicy relationships, happiness, and it's not something that you're chasing. It's like now. And how do you create that for yourself? So, thank you, sweetie. This is my daughter, Belle, one of my blessings from my major transformations, um, who brought me some fruit and veggies and some water. Thank you. So, what are you guys up to?
Um, we're playing outside.
Awesome sauce. Well, thank you for thinking of me. So today it's, if first off, you may not experience this. Maybe you are someone who's positive and uplifting and empowered, and you don't have these kinds of people in your life. Maybe this is not a talk for you. I invite you to stick around because maybe you might hear something that you might know somebody you could send this live stream too. So let me know you're here. If you like what you hear, please like my video. Um, I'd love to hear from you. Do you have, one of those negative, confrontational, or annoying people in your life? Whether that's family, friends, it doesn't matter. We all experience that sometime or another. It could be in your job, it could be your boss. And the reason why I brought this one up today is because a friend of mine swung by yesterday and we were visiting, and bless her heart. So she was sharing with me an experience that she had at her job with a manager. So it was interesting, to hear how this transformational work shows up in our life, especially in important times such as these, right? So she was sharing that she's at work. There's already a lot of stress happening with COVID, and their front line workers. Um, Wearing masks all day long, and really just busting their butts. And um, first off, I want to acknowledge her. I know she'll probably catch the video later. I want to acknowledge you, dear friend. I'm not going to say names because I didn't get permission from her to say a name. However, I just want to acknowledge you for um, reminding me of how transformation shows up in our lives, especially unexpectedly, when we're just living it, right? Like, it's not something that, I say practice it, and in the beginning, really, it is about practicing. But then it just becomes a way of who you are. Like, it's who you are being every day. And yes, I'm no different than anybody else. I have moments where I'm in reaction. I have people in my life who are negative, they're annoying, or or they're confrontational, and um, it is all in how we deal with it. So I'm going to share with you today three ways that you can powerfully deal with these kinds of people in your life. Um, a lot of people typically um, just dump them or stop talking to them altogether. And look, I've done that. Okay. Um, especially when you get to a point where it's like, you've done everything and you're like, you get to a point where you just kind of start to avoid them, right? And we don't want that. Like, it's not good for you to just avoid people, right? I mean, how does that really feel? For me, when I started to avoid someone who was annoying or confrontational, or um, I'll say passionate about what they believe, um, and if they just they're just constantly like that, every time I seen them, I just would just really avoid them. And it always felt icky and like I had no power. So we want to have power, right, in our lives, within ourselves, no matter what we're confronted with. Negative people, complainers, all of that stuff. And we're all brought up creating values for ourselves, and those values over time, we really believe them. It's kind of like sandpaper rubbing up against our heart and soul when somebody disagrees or has their own opinion, and we just get rubbed the wrong way and get defensive, and we don't I mean, how do you feel after that? Some people really probably get a kick out of it. um, but for me personally, I don't get a kick out of feeling icky after a conversation. And there are people that you can say goodbye to and never speak to them again, and that's okay. However, there's people, I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend the rest of my life, which is too short, to be living in where I'm avoiding people, or I'm not living in my power and my truth, um, or spending my lifetime in resentment or in guilt or shame. None of that stuff. Like, life is just too short for that, right? So, hey, and if you get something of value from this today, please like my video, show me some love, or share it with some friends who really could use this message. Um, because like I said, not everybody, gets around a bunch of negative people. I'm not necessarily myself around a bunch of negative people, but I do have a couple, that are in my life because, they're family and I love them. And I have had to make some really heavy and deep choices about um, some of them who were toxic, and walking away from that after years and years of it. Um, but anyway, so this is about you being able to powerfully deal with them, even exes. Like you could use these because you were the only one with this power, right? Like you're the only one with the power to be with people. So, something that my friend was telling me yesterday was just really profound. And this is something that I've practiced myself in my life. And it, like I said, it just kind of becomes the way of being, where you're not in a place of reaction all the time. Like, what would life be like if you could be with those people? What would it be like to just like not even have anything about whatever it is that they're saying or complaining about, or those annoying beliefs that they might have? We all have our own beliefs, our own experiences that have built up over the years. I have my own beliefs. Um, and I choose wisely about sharing those beliefs. Um, in a conversation with someone who I already know might have an opposite opinion about that. So we're going to come up against these people. And that's just it. Like, it's not about being against them, but how can we be with them and not even be triggered by any of that? If you think like you have experienced that, what do you think it was that allowed you to create a space for them to just be who they are, right? Like you had nothing to say about what they were saying. You didn't own what they were saying. It didn't suck your energy. Um, you know, do you have an ex that you would have, want to have a continued relationship, especially because you might have children involved and you want it to be workable? Like there's stuff there, right? So naturally they're going to have their parenting views and you're going to have your parenting views. So there's all these dynamics and different points of views and opinions and people's context that they bring to the world. And so that's what makes it so beautiful. One of the things that my husband says is, if we all had the same point of view, we would definitely live in a boring, boring world, right? I mean, think about that. So we all have different points of views, different values, different beliefs. Um, the context that we live from our lives, right? So, and the thing is like when you come from the context that their point of view is wrong, then you are definitely harboring with you, um, like you got to be right all the time. And aren't those kind of people kind of annoying? Like, haven't you been around someone who just knows it all? They've got to be right about everything. And first off, like, because they, like you and like me, have their beliefs and they strongly believe in those things. Maybe they grew up and were raised with those beliefs. And the thing is, if the first thing to how to deal with that is don't defend. Don't defend your point of view. Don't get caught up in this conversation, as they're talking and going on about what their point of view, especially right now. Like everybody's got different points of views and there's no meeting in the middle. It's just one-sided point of views, right? So like I have my point of view, you have your point of view. And as soon as we begin to defend our point of view, we give up our power. And I don't know about you, but first off, like my power, my individual authentic power, that who I am is really important to me. And it ought to be to you, because first off, when you're not in your power, how do you feel? When I'm not standing for my power, um, I just feel alone and sad and maybe even a little angry. Um, I guess I would feel kind of like, and I have experienced moments, right? Like when we don't have our own power, we're not standing within our own power, we're not being authentic and true to ourself and our soul's life mission and purpose. So so when you can just be present with another human being, whether that be an ex, whether that be your mom or your father or a sibling, um, who have their own point of view, respect their point of view. By respecting that you have your point of view and that you can respect that they have a point of view, and let go of defending anything, because I promise you, when you get present with someone and just really listen to what they're sharing with you might hear where their truth is coming from. You might experience walking in their shoes and really get why they even think that in the first place, right? So it's really important to just really get present to what people want to share with you. Um, this has been a really great practice for me because my husband has his own point of view, about what's going on politically and with COVID and stuff. And look, I'm not coming on here to like have a conversation with you about my point of view or my husband's point of view. But I just want you to just kind of get a like to have a technique so that you can powerfully be with other people in these kinds of conversations, whether it be religion, whether it be money, whether it be finances, whether it be another relationship, your health. Like, who wants to spend the rest of their freaking life defending their point of view? I don't. I don't have energy for that. The energy that I want to be putting out into the world is serve. I want to be serving people. And I hope that I'm doing that by sharing this live stream with you. Something that I recently learned over the last few months, with Tony and Dean Graziosi is, um, if I'm not sharing myself and what I want to contribute and what I can offer the world, I'm doing the world a disservice. And I don't want to be a disservice. I want to, experience people like taking a little nugget, whether it's small or big, and applying it to some area of their life and just experience the things that I've got to experience in my own relationships and with myself and with others and my marriage and my children and my grandchildren. um, and I'm always learning something new, and then it's important to take that knowledge and actually just try it on, right? Like, I don't go believing like everything's the truth, and believe me, I used to. Like, if somebody, I always looked outside of myself for the answers, until I started to learn my own beliefs and my own values and what was important to me, and then started looking for my own answers from within instead of, finding them all out here. So, so that's the first thing. The first thing is to not defend. Don't be defensive. Like, just listen, get present, in any conversation with somebody, whether it's, it says my battery's low. Let me check here. Ah, it came unplugged. Give me one moment. Okay. Okay. So the first thing is to give up defending yourself. Defending, because first off, if you're over here defending what your perspective or your opinion or your whatever you want to call it is, the thing that you value that rubs you when somebody's doesn't agree with you, let that go in the conversation. Let that other person have their opinion. Let them share it and express it, because that's their opinion. They're right to that opinion. Okay. So, and then the second thing, don't interrupt. Um, before I knew any of this kind of work, um, and believe me, you probably can tell right now, I love to talk. Okay. I'm already standing in, a conversation thinking about the next thing to say that is all about me. Um, and that was like frustrating. Trying to get, what I wanted to say in. I made what I needed to say more important. So don't interrupt by, well, first off, the reason why, um, the reason why we want to interrupt is because we're trying to get them to understand us, right? We're trying to, um, sound better, or like the conversation doesn't have to be all about us. So think about it. Like if you're talking with someone, and have you ever talked to someone who is like, sharing something really important to them, or they're just passionate about it? Um, Instantly in your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, and you're thinking about like what you want to say to what they're saying. Um, and then so you interrupt and you start going on and babbling on about your, about what it means to you. And the next thing you know, they start getting frustrated and defensive themselves. And then it just kind of you've rubbed them in the wrong way. Well, first off, don't get upset because like you interrupted them, because you're trying to get them to understand your point of view. And then it's just like this dance of everybody trying to, understand each other's points of view. There's nothing to understand other than being present with each other. So, um, when I was talking, I was going to go into sharing about my husband. So he has his point of view about politics and COVID and everything that's going on. And me, like it at first it was like, oh my God. And before even all this, like he has his own thing about politics. I don't care really about politics. I spent enough time up in legislation and, doing work around that. I've been up in Congress. I get like, when I really discovered for myself, like, I only have control over what is going on right here with me and around me. Um, and so if I have a complaint about a specific political thing, I believe that if you do and you can make it happen, you write letters, get up to legislation, voice your opinion, make your opinion heard. Be a stand for what you believe in regards to that policy or whatever. But to constantly be talking about it all the time, I don't really care. I don't want to hear it. And so for me, that's like a boundary. And I needed to communicate, like, hey, like, I know you've got your opinion and you're very passionate about it. And I actually, because I used to hear it as just a complaint, or just a bunch of negative, annoying bull crap that would end up getting confrontational. um, I'm like, man, I don't like to feel like that. And so now I say, his thoughts and his feelings and his beliefs, um they're his. Like, he has a right to that. And, um what I would end up doing is just like kind of ignoring him, and or like find something else to do. And well, there's no power in that, right? And so I had to just kind of like finally find a way to communicate, like, look, like, I get you're so passionate about it, so that's what I label it. But they're just passionate about that. I'm passionate about my topics. I'm passionate about, mindset work and the law of attraction. He probably doesn't want to sit there and listen to me all day long talking about it. So communicating with him like my really how I feel about this conversation and setting boundaries, um, or having not really a boundary but creating an agreement that works for both of us, so that he feels heard and then and but all at the same time I'm also feeling heard. um, and like I said, new things are something to practice. It's like a habit. We all have habits. Well, when we want to change the habits that are no longer serving us, then we need to implement some new habit. Well, that was an old habit. And it was actually not even a habit, it was just a pattern of the way we were communicating with each other. So, so it's really important. One, don't defend your point of view. You have a point of view, and I'm not saying you can't share it. Share your point of view, be fully self expressed. Um, nothing wrong with that, right? However, we do and will be around people who have their own points of view always, always. So it's only confrontational or annoying to us because it doesn't align with our own belief. And that's okay too. So when we can be okay with, hey, like, it's just their point of view. Obviously, they're passionate about it. Then we create a space to show up and just really listen for them to share whatever it is that they need to share about. And then the third thing is, this is for you. This isn't about them. Okay. And I say this because, look, like I said earlier, if you want to spend the rest of your life, um, defending and interrupting, trying to get your point of view across because it's the right one, it's a stressful kind of way of living. Um, so, and the thing is like there, whether you like or dislike their point of view, or what it is that they value or love about their life or the topics that they're passionate about, it's only affecting you by holding on to the complaint or, um, your thoughts about what they're talking about. Like my life is just, I don't know about you, but life is too short to be constantly thinking about that person, this person's points of view. um, if I live in, man, I don't want to, I need to avoid them, or, um, excuse me, I got a message that popped up. Talk about squirrel, squirrel. So if it's when you can be with someone else who is passionate or upset or, um, instead of in reaction to them, life is so much more peaceful. There's so much more joy. Um, and what you'll find is they start talking less and less to you about those things. Um, until if it's something that's consistent, then create an agreement. And one of the reasons why people don't do that, um, I really don't like the word boundaries, but it is a familiar word to a lot of people. Boundaries just, I feel like it's constricting, and I want words that expand me, right? So, so instead of boundaries, I'm going to say creating agreements. And I learned that term from a good friend of mine, and also my parenting coach, um, Karen Rice. She is extraordinary. She's been, parenting expert for 40 plus years, and has these tools that are just awesome. First off, she has these tools that are super awesome as far as like your relationship with you as a parent and your child. And so I reached out to her because, like, gosh, I want to improve my skills as a parent. I want to love my daughter unconditionally. However, we got this wedge and I need some help. Anyways, I learned from her to create agreements. And when, when they start getting overstepped and or not working anymore, then it's time to create a new agreement. Anyways, so whether you call it a boundary or an agreement, you'd find what works for you. But either way, the third thing in dealing with people who are confrontational, annoying, or just straight as um, negative is maybe just listen, but you don't have to hang around them, right? Like you don't want to hang around because look, they are energy drainers. I mean, let's get to the truth here. They're energy drainers. So, create boundaries or agreements with these people, or just don't spend as much time with them. Um, you want people to feel heard. You like to feel heard, don't you? I know I love to be heard. And if I'm not feeling heard, then I feel like I don't matter. Like the old beliefs start kicking in. Oh, what I have to say, it doesn't matter. That's one of my old limiting beliefs that I had. Um, and so it actually got in the way of me sharing myself fully. So that isn't really um, the key thing. First off, no one else can make you feel sad or inferior or angry. Only you can decide how you're going to feel in in a conversation or in your circumstances. Only you can decide, and that's old textbook stuff. um, you're the only one who can feel your feelings. No one else can make you feel those things. So look, if you want to spend the rest of your life living like you're being lifed by life, it's not a very enjoyable life. It's not satisfaction. It's not um, going to bring you a lot of joy and happiness or a lot of love, because eventually, you know, life just kind of stops working in the areas that are most important to you. So, let me just take a peek at my notes here. Yeah. Yeah. So annoying people, I put, we're interrupting them because we want to prove them wrong. We um, we interrupt them because we're just trying to get them again to understand us. Um, and of course, while we're interrupting them, then we create more confrontation between, and angst and stuff in between us. So it's really important. I heard that, you know, when we're actually, let me take a step back here. My daughter is like 6. She just turned 6 this summer, and I really want her to learn that nobody else can make us feel anything. Like we can only be responsible for how we feel and how we're creating our feelings, and how we're reacting to people and things. Um, so I would rather teach her to stand within her power, get that she has, her beliefs and values and things that she loves about life, while also being a space for others to also have their own. We have no say. That's why government, when they sit down at the table and then suddenly decisions aren't being made because everyone has their own points of view. Everybody's fighting to either avoid looking bad. They've got a big responsibility in their hands, and so wars get created. Wars and violence, and like that's not the kind of world I want my daughter to grow up in. Even though like that's what's happening, but I want to teach her, like, we only have control over what we have here with us, and that is a ripple effect into the world. So again, don't defend, number one. Two, don't interrupt. And number three, like, this is for you, not for them, right? Like, you're only damaging yourself by hanging on to all that stuff, or getting all upset and defensive and interruptive and all that stuff. Like, it only impacts you. So wouldn't it be awesome, you know, like, first off, because we are the only ones responsible for our emotions. um the thing is, like, no one can make us feel bad. And unfortunately, some people in our life, some of the people in our life, like, they haven't stepped in and said something to you. And so you just keep living these unsatisfied feelings, or living in unsatisfied reality that this is just the way it is. Um, because they too weren't taught that there's that we live in a world that's abundant and anything is possible. So I'm inviting you to decide right now, because that's all we have is this moment right now, as I'm sharing with you, to decide right now that you're no longer going to allow people and their values and their opinions affect you and how you feel about your own life. And just let it go when there's a conversation happening. Let all that go. Just be someone who listens and who is present, because there's a gift in that, a gift to them. And that's a beautiful way to serve others, is by just listening. Allow them to be heard. Okay? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I was super excited because my friend, let me get back to my friend's story. So, what happened was, she was at work, stressful environment, a lot of stuff happening, especially with the COVID and everything going on. Her manager, okay, so what happened was, she had her mask, right, it fell off her nose. And as she was talking to another employee, it kept sliding down. So instead of pulling it up, she pulled it down just enough so that she could talk. And the manager come out, only seen that it was down, and literally yells at her. I mean, yells at her, "Get that mask on now! If you don't get it on and I see that again, I'm turning you into the boss. And this is my mood right now." And she's okay, pulled the mask back on and went about her business. Hmm. I just got goosebumps, because at first I was like, oh man, I would totally go and talk to her about, like, boundaries, or let's have an agreement that when you're having a mood, you know, take a breath before you react. Um, that was my first thought. And then as I just kind of relished in, like, wow, she didn't react to this woman. Um, and because of that, the other woman who heard it went and told her, like, there was no need for you to get all upset like that. And then she came and apologized, and throughout the day, I guess, was like, feeling bad about it. And my friend was just like, hey, I got it. First off, like, that's over there with you. That had nothing to do with me. You wanted to express, hey, do what you're supposed to be doing. You did it through yelling, and that's with you. Like, that's on you, not me. um, and then was just like, she's like, hey, you're just telling me what to do. That's your job, right? Instead of reacting out of anger. I know so many people, I've done it myself, who've reacted out of anger. They probably would have walked off the job and been like, "You're not going to talk to me like that." I mean, it could have been worse, right? Like you could imagine another scenario, except for that's not what she done. My friend, so you know, is has been doing. She's done a lot of the transformational work that I've done, um, and so it just was a great reminder that we can be with other people, whether they're pissed off, whether they're confrontational, whether they're upset or passionate about their opinions and what they value in life. Like we can just be with people. And it's just a beautiful, juicy thing to be with people. I love people, even in their worst. So I hope that you got something from all that. Um, and you feel served, and if not, hey, I got it, that's cool. Maybe you know someone who could get value from this, and I invite you to share that with them. Share this video with them. Let me know if you liked it or not. um, and if there's anything like you have questions about, I would love to hear if you have any questions. All right, so have a beautiful day. I'm gonna go take a break and see what my daughter's up to and eat this wonderful fruit she just brought me. So have a beautiful day. Namaste.